Today, we are discussing a new report from the Center for Cooperative Media on cross-field collaboration as journalists increasingly partner with non-governmental organizations. Welcome to Today in News Tech, our weekly extended chat where we discuss the past week of news and break down what we can learn to help our local newspaper publishers at Our Hometown Inc.
The article, Journalists Are Increasingly Partnering with Outside Organizations. A new report offers a glimpse at how that's going, provides an update on Neiman's 2009 report, NGOs and the news. The update features a new report, Crossfield Collaboration, How and Why Journalists and Civil Society Organizations Around the World Are Working Together, by Sarah Stonbely and Hanna Siemaszko, looking at 155 such collaborations, involving 1,010 entities across 125 countries. Crossfield collaboration is one way that journalism has answered the questions posed by the technological, social, and political turbulence of the 21st century, Stonbely and Siemaszko write. Here are a few of the big takeaways. Information producers can no longer rely on their content being seen via the usual channels. Collaboration helps content take on more incarnations, i.e. text, video, graphics, etc., and have broader reach. The resource constraints faced by newsrooms, along with the increasingly complicated nature of investigative stories, necessitates specialized skills and supplemental human power. There is an increased desire for impact from investigative journalism, or, stated differently, an increasing impatience with lack of impact, which crossfield collaboration makes more likely. However, the authors found that journalists in many Western countries expressed concern about participating in crossfield collaborations because they were worried they'd be seen as biased. One of the main questions raised by crossfield collaboration is what its increasing prevalence means for journalism. Concerns about autonomy, ethical integrity, and too much emphasis on impact are common. However, in many cases, these concerns are outweighed by the gravity of the problems that journalists working on these topics are covering.
One of the key findings, this is number 1 on page 6. 55% of organizations that participated in the cross-field collaborations we identified were journalism outlets. 21% were NGOs. The remaining civil society organizations included universities, journalism support organizations, and civic tech and arts organizations. A very large umbrella they're throwing, because non-governmental means you're just not getting money from the government. And it also means you're not getting, but you could be getting corporately funded, you could be Jeff Bezos funding, you could be Melinda Gates Foundation funding. So a lot of those things, that's why it's so hard to pin down because it's such a large umbrella category. When you ask, what are they citing? I mean, it's just everything that's not that, That's not Alden or Hearst.
Right. Yep. And when they say collaboration, so like the newspaper is going to help tell the story of the NGO.
They might be the ones that have the most advocacy personnel, such as experts on pollution, environmental issues, climate things. And so a local newspaper wouldn't necessarily have all the technical expertise, but in this collaboration, they could draw on that in their reporting to give their audiences just more in-depth and better information. Here's another finding. For example, about 24.5% of all collaborations fell into the category of democracy, transparency, governance, and corruption. They have a chart on this, which I didn't include because it's a bit ways down. But so what I was just reading to you were, here we go, the key findings and recommendations. Here's the 55%, and then here was the, on the next page, was the collaborations here. And then this points to a chart where they basically break down the actual topics of cross-field collaboration. So as we said, democracy, government stuff, accountability is sitting at 24.5%, with environment, climate second to that. And that's why I mentioned these nonprofits or these NGOs that have technical staff as part of their workforce are able to bring that into the publishing universe with these local publishers. And there's I would say a bidirectional benefit on both sides, because they're expanding the reach in both directions, to the local and to the advocacy, which is very often targeted at some local, state, or national government policy.
I need to get this a little bit even more concrete. Like, let's say I'm a local newspaper, what this collaboration might look like. Housing. So there's a homeless, NGO that's running the shelter. They put out some material that's statistics and research about homelessness in the community, and then I publish that.
You have to do something for them in return, right?
For them in return, right. The way I see it is we're telling the story and giving them promotion and getting the word out about in a way, and then they're giving us the information. But
Gotcha.
It could be seen as biased because we're not doing the research. We let this organization do the research that supports their mission and their need for more funding. Like, their research is going to show like that their initiatives are being successful and they should continue to exist. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, I think that's where the bias.
This is why a lot of journalists are nervous, but they do find that the problems are so serious that they want to work through that, and because they do believe.
This type of thing really kind of gets under my skin, because if readers are going to be so judgmental to call out a paper for some bias, that's nonsense. Turn the page.
Well, the thing is you're going to be saying that this content is being produced in collaboration with, so you're going to let people know that it's coming that way. That should be part of it. You want to just say that, hey, we did all this stuff on our own or whatnot. There's a local group here in Rochester. It's called the Rochester Local Poverty Initiative.
Right.
And so they coordinate with, like, as you said, local shelters, food banks, things like that. They would have all the statistics, because it just happens to be that Rochester has the highest percentage of child poverty in the country per capita, and this is a big deal. And so having local organizations that have the data, that are on the ground, where the local newspapers can cover it to a certain degree, but they can do an even better job through these expanded collaborations.
Yeah, no, that makes sense now. I totally understand. To come back to our analogy for our industry, one way to look at it is, I don't know if we're actually maybe the NGO and the press associations are like journalists, because we're producing all this content and these webinars, and then the associations are bringing that to their members as this is what people in the industry have researched and what they've produced and like what they see as the state of mobile apps for my upcoming one.
Well, I would say to a certain degree, but we don't advocate any editorial issues. It's just tech support and marketing advice and things.
For sure. Yeah, we stay in our lane there. That's why it works, because press associations don't do that. They're not really into the tech stuff. They spend a lot of time on postal laws and how to deliver the paper better, definitely editorial, how to tell stories, how to write better headlines.
Well, that would be the best editorial advice we would do is from our research and our reporting, is that these are the methodologies and these are the ways that we're not going to tell you what to write, but we can tell you how to get what you write and how to formulate it and where to put it.
Today in News Tech, the podcast covering innovation in digital journalism. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe on YouTube or any of your favorite podcast apps. We'll see you tomorrow.
At our hometown, we help newspapers build WordPress websites, design native apps, and develop digital subscription models. If you are interested in a free prototype of your publication on WordPress, go to ourhometown.com and click the Contact Us button.